always great to have you because we get a quick little synopsis from Thursday Night Football and one play that really was indicative of why we look at every single spot. Take people through the Josh Allen knee to end the first half that maybe initially did not look like he got all the way to the ground.
Yeah, he certainly didn't on his initial attempt to kneel the football down. The ball, he fumbled it, and while his knee was on the ground, so then he stood up with the ball. And as he was standing up, he might have dragged his right knee on the ground, and that was the kneel down. In either case, whether he did or didn't do that, he tosses the ball to the official, giving himself up, and the half expires. Well, the Dolphins didn't view it as that way. They were trying to run after him, thinking that it still was a live ball. And so that's what I saw on the replay. There's a lot of people in the comments not sure exactly about the rules when I tweeted that out, whether or not you could actually do that. But in either case, he sort of gave himself up, even if his knee wasn't down. The issue that I have is where the ball was when his knee was down. If it was down on the after the bobble, when he was about to get up, that was a negative 3-yard loss. But that never shows up anywhere on the box score. And in fact, I have like the official play-by-play from the NFL as the game is going on with each play being numbered. And that play was technically graded as a Josh Allen fumbled, aborted snap for 0 yards. He wasn't penalized with that yardage. And where that could come into play, of course, is if his rushing yardage was close to going over, would that have made a difference? Could that have been a factor? Obviously now with the advent of sports betting, that's going to be something looked at a little bit more frequently. So obviously Dolphins fans were a little bit mad. That was a super close game and their team outperformed expectations. They were hoping that there was going to be more of a controversy. The only controversy in my mind is where are those negative 3 yards in the box score for Josh Allen's rushing for those people that bet the under on Josh Allen's rushing yardage, just wanting to get a few extra negative yards there. But the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, very tame game, in my opinion. Very short passing, dink and dunk. Josh Allen has not been turning the football over, so this team has not really been putting it in harm's way. But I've been disappointed with what I'm seeing out of the Miami Dolphins, especially out of Tua to an extent. His accuracy has been in question as of now. On first downs, he averaged only 3.5 air yards per attempt, but only completed 7 of 13 passes for minus 0.29 EPA per attempt. Just a very poor performance from Tua on first down. The way the Dolphins hung in this game and covered for everybody who was backing them was they went 11 of 16 on third and fourth down and converted all 3 of their trips into the red zone. It was the blocked punt / roughing the punter that gave the Bills a first down, coupled with the interception by Tua that really decided the game in favor of the Buffalo Bills. But Miami certainly had every shot, and that's because the Bills were playing super, super conservative offensively.
Yeah, it could have been a real sweat down the stretch if that play doesn't happen, that roughing penalty, as you mentioned there, Warren. But that was a real game changer at 21-all to shift the balance here to the Bills. So the Bills win the game, Dolphins get the money, and the game does go over with that late field goal. Want to get your thoughts on another game. And it was interesting. We were just talking to our buddy Thomas Gable at the Borgata in Atlantic City, and they're going to be looking at they're going to be needing the Packers, if you can believe this, to cover the 7.5 here against the Browns. That all of a sudden everybody's hopping on the Browns here. You've looked at this game too, Warren, but maybe you've figured out a way to analyze it here from a player prop that you like.
Yeah, a lot of people don't dig into the longest completion, longest reception market. I love this market. I haven't dabbled in it as much the first couple of weeks, but in this particular game, Joe Flacco's longest completion is 32.5 to 33.5. I like it at either number. His longest completion this year so far has been 26 yards. In his 5 games with the Colts prior to just like chucking it the last 2 weeks of the season, when he was really trying to be the starter there for weeks 1 through 10, he had 1 game where his longest completion was over 32 yards. The Packers have played Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff so far this year. The longest completion from Jaden Daniels was 20 yards. The longest from Goff was 32 yards. In the 2 games combined that the Packers have played, they faced 94 dropbacks, and they've allowed 1 completion out of 94 to even go for more than 20 yards, let alone over 32.5. They haven't let 1 pass go over 32.5 yet so far on the season. And going back to last season, the defense is better this year for the Packers, but last season they faced 236 dropbacks and they've allowed just 3 to go over 32 yards. That's 0.4%. I don't think Joe Flacco is going to have enough time here. The issue is the where I think this game is a little bit closer, which it plays into the under even further, that the Browns may not have to just come out chucking the ball everywhere, is that the Browns' run defense has been elite. And if they can bottle up Josh Jacobs in much the same way they bottled up Derrick Henry is a far more explosive rusher, and they held him to the lowest rushing total of any game that he's played with the Baltimore Ravens. If they can bottle up Josh Jacobs, who is far less of an efficient or explosive runner, he's more of a get there by volume type runner. If they can keep him off schedule a little bit and force things more onto Jordan Love's plate with a depleted receiving core potentially, and now Tucker Kraft banged up his knee, we're not sure what his status is going to be for this game, definitely could keep this game a little bit tighter, which would prevent the Cleveland Browns from having to just simply chuck the ball down the field like they've had to do specifically last week late.
Yeah, anxious to see what Quinshon Judkins is going to be able to do in his debut there with the Browns as well. Let me stay there, and I'll ask you a two-parter here, Warren. A running back prop that potentially you like, and maybe a receiver prop, tight end, offensive player props here that you've got kind of circled for Sunday and maybe Monday Night Football.
Okay, I'll go with a running back prop right now, and that's Jaylen Warren. And I'm looking specifically at his game against the New England Patriots, and I'm looking at him being utilized out of the backfield. And the reason why is because of the style of play of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers does not want to be pressured. When he is pressured, he throws it short. He does not want to take sacks. He's just dumping the ball off. He has one of the lowest ADOTs in the NFL. This is what he was doing with the Jets as well. But for Jaylen Warren, it factored in last week where Jaylen Warren had over 80 receiving yards. He was the only Steeler with more than 40. So all the receivers, all their tight ends, nobody eclipsed 40, but Jaylen Warren had over 80 receiving yards. Now, yes, he did break off a long reception, catch and run after the fact. But even if you take that out, his other 3 receptions still hit 21 receiving yards. His prop on this game, last I checked, which was last night, was between 19.5 and 20.5. And so I think he still eclipsed that in just 3 targets in last week's game, which was a loss to the Seattle Seahawks. The other factor here for Jaylen Warren, 2 of them. Number one, the New England Patriots just allowed, 110 receiving yards combined to the Miami Dolphins running backs last week. So they've been suspect defending running back passes for starters. And then, of course, Jaylen Warren has been getting a little bit more run. We thought it might be like a 3-headed backfield there in Pittsburgh, but that hasn't necessarily been the case. And Jaylen Warren took control of that backfield a little bit further last week's game, and the coaching staff feels very comfortable with Jaylen Warren in that role. So I think he's going to get targeted enough to eclipse his receiving over.
I love it. Warren, when you do look at some of these other games here, and you got about a minute to go, is there anyone that really stands out, either side or total? Because, again, we talked about this game last night where the total hits with that late field goal. I know you're looking at a lot of those player props. Is there any game and a side that you like? Because Jensen and I are leaning towards that Browns catching the points, and maybe the breakdown you gave earlier is the reason why we're leaning that way.
Yeah, well, if we want to go to a different game, I'm looking at the 49ers-Arizona Cardinals game and what we're going to get out of the offenses in that one. I lean a little bit towards the over. In the offseason, this market was 47.5. In the summertime line was 47.5. The Arizona Cardinals just lost 2 starters in the secondary. A third one is banged up. They have a massive cluster injury in their secondary. Whether or not we got Brock Purdy, I'm not sure, but Brock Purdy, Kyle had him chucking a ton last week down in New Orleans. With a lead the whole game, they could have just handed the ball off to Christian McCaffrey all game long. Instead, they have Mac Jones drop back 43 times. I think he's going to come out aggressively targeting the secondary of the Arizona Cardinals. His total now is still at like 45.5. There's a couple points lower than what it was all summer long just because of Brock Purdy's injury, but Brock still might go. So we have to see what happens there. But if Brock's ruled out, this total should drop. You can bet the over at that point. Otherwise, I think it's a bargain with Brock being in at 45.5.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.